Every buyer sits across the table from a real estate agent and hears the same thing. I work for you. My job is to find you the best deal possible. And the best part, my services are completely free to you. You believed it because it was said with a smile in a clean office on a day when buying a home still felt like the beginning of something good. You believed it because the agent knew every street, every school district, every little detail that made you feel like you were in the right hands. You kept believing it right up until the moment you signed, and that is when the structure you were never shown finished moving. This is the part that nobody explains during the first meeting. Your agent does not work for free. Your agent gets paid a commission that comes out of the sale price of the home you just bought, a commission negotiated by the seller, and in most transactions, a commission structure designed to steer you toward the homes that pay your agent the most. That distinction sounds small. It is the most important thing you will ever understand about real estate. Truth number 1. Your agent's loyalty is not to you. It is to the transaction. Here is what actually happens on the day your agent shows you properties. The seller of every home on that list has agreed to pay a total commission. That total commission gets split. Half goes to the seller's agent, half goes to your agent, the buyer's agent, the agent who is supposed to be working for you. But here is what changes everything. Not every home offers the same split. Some sellers offer 2% to the buyer's agent, some offer 3%, some offer 2.5%, and some, the ones sitting on the market a little too long, offer 3.5% or even 4% to whoever brings a buyer through the door. Your agent can see all of this before they show you a single home. They know which properties pay them more before you know which properties exist. A buyer spends 3 weekends visiting homes, 7 properties, all of them clustered in a similar price range. What they do not know is that 5 of those 7 homes offer a 3% or higher buyer's agent commission. The 2 homes that might have been the best fit, priced more aggressively, newer roof, motivated seller, those 2 offered 2%. Those 2 were never mentioned. Nobody lied. Nobody broke a rule. The system performed exactly as designed. That is what a commission loophole looks like when it is working correctly. Truth number 2. The house your agent loves most is usually the one that pays them best. There is a phrase agents use when they find a listing they're excited about. This one just came on the market. I really think this could be the one for you. It sounds like intuition. It sounds like they know you well enough to recognize your home before you do. Sometimes it is. And sometimes the listing sheet they read that morning showed a 3.5% buyer's commission on a $400,000 home, which means $14,000 to your agent on a single transaction. At 2%, that same home pays $9,000, a $5,000 difference on one deal. Human beings respond to incentives, always, everywhere, in every industry. Real estate agents are not different. They are human beings operating inside a structure that rewards them unequally depending on which door they open for you. The agent does not have to be dishonest for this to shape your experience. They just have to be human. And the homes that might have been better, the ones with less marketing, lower days on market, sellers who drop the commission to save costs, those homes become invisible. Not through deception, through the quiet math of what gets remembered and what gets forgotten when an agent builds your showing list on a Tuesday morning. Truth number 3. Dual agency is the conflict of interest that gets presented to you as a convenience. You have been searching for 3 months, you find a listing you love, you call the number on the sign, the agent picks up, they are warm, knowledgeable, immediately helpful. They set up a showing, they walk you through the house, they answer every question. Then they say something that sounds like good news. I actually represent this property, but I can represent both sides of the transaction. It might actually make things easier. Smoother communication, faster close. What they did not say is that in a dual agency arrangement, they now collect both halves of the commission, both the seller's side and the buyer's side. On a $400,000 home at 5% total commission, that is $20,000 in a single transaction, and they are now legally representing both you and the seller at the same time. The person negotiating your price is being paid more when your price goes up. The person advising you on the inspection findings has a financial interest in the deal closing, regardless of what those findings say. The person guiding you through the biggest purchase of your life is collecting a fee from the other side of the table. In most states, this is legal. In most transactions, it is disclosed in a paragraph of boilerplate that you sign on page 4 of a document stack that arrives the same morning as everything else. You signed it, you just did not know what it meant when you did. Truth number 4, the listing price is not the market. It is a negotiating position, and your agent may not negotiate it. Here is something that almost never gets said directly. When an agent represents a buyer and the offer comes in lower than asking price, the lower the final sale price, the lower the commission. A home listed at $400,000 that sells at $380,000 means the agent earns less than a home that closes at full ask. On a 3% commission structure, the difference between a $380,000 close and a $400,000 close is $600 to the agent. That is not a career-defining number, but it is a number that exists, and it exists every single time, on every single negotiation. An agent who has 12 active clients does not live or die by $600 on your transaction. But an agent who is already stretched thin, already managing 3 closings, already behind on paperwork, already trying to get to their kid's recital, that agent has a very quiet incentive to get your offer accepted quickly at a number the seller will take without pushback, not out of malice, out of the math that lives underneath every decision everyone makes when time is money. The negotiation you deserved, the one that could have saved you $8,000, that negotiation never happened because no one was financially incentivized to have it. And when you got the keys, you felt grateful because you did not know what did not happen. Truth number 5. The inspection is where the deal almost always survives. Even when it should not. Your offer is accepted, you enter the inspection period. The inspector walks through the home with a flashlight and a checklist and produces a report that is either 20 pages or 40 pages, depending on how thorough they are. Your agent reviews that report with you. And here is the moment where the commission loophole becomes something more personal. The inspector found issues: a roof that has 5 years left, a water heater that is original to the home, electrical panels with breakers that trip inconsistently, HVAC that needs a service and probably a replacement within 2 years. These findings are real, they are documented, and taken together, they represent somewhere between $12,000 and $20,000 in near-term costs. A buyer who understood this fully might go back to the seller and ask for a price reduction or a repair credit, or they might walk away entirely and find a home without those issues at the same price point. But here's what your agent says instead. Every home has some things. This is pretty normal for a house of this age. I would focus on the major structural items, the roof and the foundation, and not worry too much about the rest. That framing is not wrong. It is also not complete. And the difference between what was said and what a truly neutral advisor would have said, that difference determines whether you renegotiate, whether you ask for credit, whether you even know the question is available to you. The deal that closed is the deal your agent was paid on. The questions that might have reopened it were the questions that did not get asked. Truth number 6. The disclosure documents are written to protect everyone except the person who is about to own the problem. Every real estate transaction comes with a seller disclosure form. The seller fills it out. It asks about leaks, about pests, about past repairs, about neighborhood disputes and easements, and anything that might affect the value or use of the property. Sellers answer what they know. Sometimes they answer what they can prove they knew. There is a difference. A seller who had a basement leak 3 years ago patched it, repainted, and has had no issues since. Do they disclose it? Legally, in most jurisdictions, the disclosure requirement hinges on knowledge of a current defect. That past leak, the one that left a faint water stain behind the shelving unit that nobody moved, that does not make it into the disclosure form. The buyer who bought the home found out 18 months later when the original crack reopened during a wet spring. The seller disclosed accurately under the letter of the law. The agent reviewed the disclosure and found nothing to flag. The inspector examined accessible areas and noted no visible evidence of moisture intrusion. And the buyer paid for a foundation repair that everyone in the chain had structural reasons not to look for too hard. Not fraud, not conspiracy. A system where every participant's incentive points toward closure, and only one participant's incentive pointed toward caution. That participant was you, and you did not know that was your job until after the keys changed hands. Truth number 7. You were never the client. You were the mechanism by which the transaction happened. This is the part that most people feel before they can say it. You met your agent at an open house. They were charming. They remembered small details. They texted you listings at 9 at night because they knew you checked your phone after the kids were asleep. That felt like service. It felt like someone was genuinely in your corner, and in many ways it was. Most real estate agents are hardworking people who genuinely want their clients to find good homes. But good intentions do not change the architecture. The architecture says your agent gets paid when the transaction closes, not when you find the best home, not when you negotiate the best price, not when the inspection reveals something important and you walk away from a bad deal. When it closes. Every piece of advice you received was filtered through a structure that rewarded movement toward closing and penalized movement away from it. The agent who encouraged you to write a cleaner offer, the one who said the inspection findings were pretty standard, the one who advised you not to push too hard on the price because the market is competitive right now. Each of those moments was technically true, and each of those moments was also the system working exactly as designed. You were not cheated, you were processed. And the difference between those two things is not something you feel right away. You feel it later, when the water heater goes, when the roof estimate comes in, when you sit down and add up the numbers and realize that the home you paid $420,000 for, the home you stretched to reach, the home your agent said was a great deal for this neighborhood, has cost you $38,000 in repairs in the first 4 years. And the agent who told you it was a great deal sent you a holiday card the first 2 years and has not been in contact since. So what do you actually do with this? You stop expecting your buyer's agent to be a neutral advisor, and you start understanding them as a participant in a system that rewards transaction completion above everything else. You ask before you sign a buyer's agency agreement. Ask directly, what is the commission you will receive on properties you show me? Ask whether that number varies by listing. Ask what happens if the seller offers less than your agreed rate. Watch the answer, not just the words, the hesitation before the words. You request to see properties that are for sale by owner, that have been on the market longer than average, that have reduced their price. These are the listings your agent has the least financial incentive to bring you. They are also sometimes the best deals in a given market. You hire a buyer's agent who works on a flat fee or an hourly consulting model if that option exists in your market. It is not always available, but when it is, the incentive structure changes completely. You are no longer a transaction. You are a client. You treat the inspection report as a negotiating document, not a checklist. Every finding is a data point. Every data point has a dollar value. That dollar value belongs in your offer revision, not in a polite acknowledgement that you are okay with the house as is. You read the disclosure documents yourself, not for what is there, for what the structure of the questions might be hiding. Disclosures reveal what sellers are legally required to say. They do not reveal what sellers were careful enough not to know. And you stop treating the closing table as the finish line. The closing table is where the system gets paid. Your finish line is the home performing the way you were told it would perform for the next 10 years. Those are different moments. The people who got paid left at the first one. You are the one still living in the second. The commission loophole is not a scandal. It is not a conspiracy. It is a structure that was built to move transactions and has never been seriously redesigned to protect buyers. It runs whether you see it or not. Your agent may genuinely like you, may genuinely want you to find a good home, may work harder than anyone you have ever hired. And still, underneath all of that, the structure is doing what it was built to do. Rewarding close, penalizing delay, filtering advice through the question that was never yours. What makes this deal happen? Not what makes this deal right for you. The loophole was never hidden in a document. It was hidden in the assumption that the person sitting across from you was working for your outcome. They were working for the transaction, and now,